Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of Fit Tech Tips. Today's speaker is our very own Jess Jursek. You may have seen her on a previous Tech Tips, and we're happy to have her back today to share tips and tricks on Microsoft Copilot. Today's session will be recorded and a link shared out afterwards, so keep an eye out for that. As always, I will share a link to a brief survey in the chat, so please take a moment to complete that before you leave today. We do look forward to your feedback. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to drop those in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer those along the way as well. And with that, I'll hand things over to Jess to share her screen.
All right, thanks so much, Mike. And let me go ahead and take over on the screen here. So welcome. As Mike mentioned, I am here to take over and talk about Copilot today. And so, one second. So Microsoft Copilot is really two separate things. We have this Microsoft Copilot that you're seeing on the screen right now that is you can access through any web browser. And then you also have Copilot for Microsoft 365. Copilot for Microsoft 365 is one that is built in within apps, and it is something that you would, use in Excel or Word or things like that. But Copilot in general has really become kind of a, you know, catch-all term for any sort of generative AI. And so, actually, one second, there we go. Change how I'm sharing my screen here. It's become how, kind of how we interchangeably use a tissue or Kleenex. Copilot's kind of the same thing. It seems like every different product has a Copilot nowadays. But specifically today, we will talk about Copilot that is just Microsoft Copilot. It's also been known as Bing Chat before, or Microsoft Chat, or Copilot Chat, I'm sorry, or just the free version of Copilot. So everybody has this with their Microsoft accounts, whether it be a personal account or a work or school account. One big benefit with your work and school account is that when you're utilizing the Copilot here and the Copilot chat, you have this protection. So this is an enterprise data protection, which means that when you put this information into the system, it's actually going to kind of stay within the system. It's not going to go out into the general universe of information, the internet. Like when you use, say, a ChatGPT or something like that. What it will do, though, is when you are using it, you still want to have the best practices and making sure that you're not putting any personal information. So that'll take us to our first point here about security. When you're using any sort of generative AI, whether it be ChatGPT or Copilot or any other one, you want to make sure that to stay secure, that you are keeping all personal data, so obviously never your social, but even things as simple as your address or your birthday. Like you may want to say, hey, Copilot, what's the best restaurant around 123 Main Street? My home address. Sure, your home address is already out on the internet, but you don't need to feed it back in more and associate it even more with your name, because then, especially in, say, like not to pick on ChatGPT, they're not the only generative AI out there, but they're the most common named one. If I throw that out there, then next time, if someone were to somehow type in something that triggered my name, it could provide my address or things like that, or even your date of birth. Those identifiable things that, could give a scammer just a little bit of edge, mother's maiden name, to get past some sort of security code. You want to make sure to keep that to yourself or keep it out of here. All right, so going in here, one other thing to very much so note about the security is that scammers have found their way in here to do phishing, to try and fish for your information. So a lot of times if I type something in here, it'll give you a link to launch out and, go to a web page or something like that. If you launch into a web page and it ever asks for any of your credentials, don't go to it. Don't make sure that, you stay safe and secure. Close that out. Don't put your credentials in. when you're using Copilot, this is a Microsoft product. So if you haven't used your Microsoft in a while, and it may prompt you to sign into Microsoft at the beginning, and you'll of course do your authentication with your authenticator app. But past that, you do want to make sure to go ahead and, you know, not put in any usernames or passwords. All right. So what do we use Copilot for? Um, there are absolutely a lot of benefits to Copilot for Microsoft 365 with it being built in, but there's a surprising amount of ways that you can utilize it here at work just with the chat and the free version of Copilot. So getting into that, some of the, first things you can look at, obviously there's ways to learn new skills, things like that, but what are some ways that I use it on the day-to-day? So thinking about, say, wanting to start a draft. Sometimes, we all get writer's block and say, I've got to write an all staff post in Teams that I need to announce a anniversary happy hour. So I'm going to ask Copilot to help me start a draft so that I can kind of get things going. So can you a Teams announcement? 25th anniversary happy hour. All right, so it's gone ahead and drafted up a Teams post for me. Now, I didn't give a lot of detail. All I said is the 25th anniversary happy hour. I didn't say what we were doing. I didn't say when it was. And, while I say we want to put in no personal details, you do want to make sure that your prompt is detailed. So looking at this, we're thrilled to invite you to a happy hour event, celebrate our 25th anniversary. And, talking about the journey we've shared together. Evening of fun and laughter. Well, our happy hour is actually going to be virtual. So I need to go ahead and change this because it's actually not going to be at a location. We're going to all meet together. So I needed to give more detail. And I also didn't target that, this is going to be for all staff members. I didn't, say about any events, activities, and what we'll be doing. So let's go ahead and change this. Can you adjust this to target our full All right, so now I've gone ahead and because I still have this chat open, I can just ask for them to adjust this. I don't need to put in my original prompt again and change the way that I prompt it. I can just change the iteration of it. So here I'm going to say, can you adjust the target? All right, and let's see. So now it's gone ahead and adjusted the message. And so, hi team, we're thrilled to invite you. And it's changed it to a virtual time and has the meeting link. And then evening of fun and laughter. Look forward to a bright future, variety of games and breakout rooms, keep the energy high. So now we're getting closer. Here's probably where you could go ahead and I would maybe take this. I'm still going to make some tweaks because it's not going to sound like it came exactly from me and I want to make it a little more personal. But here I can go ahead and use this copy feature, copy this, and maybe take it over to my Teams environment and start my Teams post from there. But I get out of that kind of writer's block at the beginning. This gets me started. So this is just one way that I use Copilot in the day-to-day. Another way I definitely use it a lot is to do the opposite. Sometimes I have too many words and I will start writing an email and it will hit the fifth paragraph and I'm thinking they asked one question. I need to narrow this down. So I will look at that. I will take out any specific client or company or personal information and I'll take it over to Copilot and say, hey, Copilot, can you cut this back and get it into, a few sentences, 5 bullet points, and a closing line. And then the way that Copilot can condense things for you, I'll look at it and go, oh yeah, that is a faster way to say that rather than the 3 paragraphs I wrote. So it can be very, very helpful. I know I helped a friend recently, and this is another thing that people very often use generative AI for. I helped them with their resume, and they, asked me, they're like, I just never know how to get it all into one page. And I said, well, why don't you just write down all your skills, write down what you did, all everything you did at your last job. And as they were bulleting, they're like, this is too many bullets. I'm like, literally, I don't care how many bullets, put them all in there. So they hand me, it's 15 bullets. And I'm like, okay. So I'd make sure no personal information, everything's the same. I take it over to Copilot and say, hey, Copilot, can you take these bullets, condense it into 4 bullets, and this is for a resume for a library director, um, library director who is, has 15 years experience. And so Copilot then takes those 15 bullet points, condenses it down to 4. And again, you have that moment of, oh yeah, I could say it that way. And then that gets everything into one point. So it's a very helpful tool. Obviously, you should always don't blindly use Copilot or any sort of generative tool. You want to make sure that you carefully read it and make sure that, it's representing exactly what you would like to say. So, for example, with this 25th anniversary virtual happy hour, this may not be exactly how I want to, including all of our amazing remote employees. No, of course they're included. It's remote or not, we're all the same. But making sure that it's that we are highlighting that this is a remote thing. So I'd probably change this around. Milestone. I'm gonna make our 25th anniversary a much bigger deal than just like, oh hey, join us with some confetti things here. There will be gifts and pictures. But you see what I mean. All right, what's another way we can use this at work? You see that I just did that there. I hit new chat. I always want to hit new chat because Copilot is going to remember what we were just talking about. So make sure to always hit new chat when you want to change the subject. All right. So another way that I use this, and I know I mentioned that Copilot for Microsoft 365 is where you have Copilot integrated within your apps, but there is a way that you can really helpfully use Copilot chat in with those applications as well. There are a lot of tips and tricks within Word, or I'm sorry, tips and tricks that you can look up for Word or Excel. So, I use Excel for a ton of things, but I very frequently forget exactly what, formula I want to put in my head. I know I've done it a million times, but I don't remember what it is. So let's say I've got a ton of values in a column here, and I want to sum them all up. So can you tell me the formula? In in Microsoft Excel. So I want to get all the values down on my total box. So here Copilot's going to go ahead and say, yeah, I can tell you exactly how to do that. So it gives me the formula that if I want to actually view the entire column, then I would put in this formula and I could copy paste that right into Excel. Or if I'm looking, say, for just a range of cells, if I just want, line 2 through 12 or something like that, here's how you want that to look as well. But this is a Microsoft product, Excel is a Microsoft product. Will this work in Google Sheets? Yes, it will. So it's not just pulling from Microsoft. And, if you have any questions about Google or any other product, you can look them up in here too. It's accessing the full internet and obviously not just exclusive to Microsoft. All right. Let's see. Another example, let's try here. Say, I'm working on a Word document. I want to insert a table. I cannot for the life of, or not a table, a graph. I cannot for the life of me remember where I go to insert a graph into Microsoft Word. I do it very infrequently and it's just not at the front of my mind here. So how do I insert a graph to it will go ahead and give me those instructions so that I can follow that as soon as I open up the app. So this can be a really helpful way. Uh, and it's not just for Microsoft Excel. Hey, I can't, how do I save this document as a PDF? How do I, realign things? Copilot's great on giving you instructions on any day-to-day thing. Let's see. Can you give me instructions on how to change a tire on a 2015 Honda CRV? Copilot is going to go ahead and give you the information on how to change a tire in a Copilot CRV. So there's so many different uses and use cases. Now, sure, could I look up a YouTube video? Yes. And honestly, so it's giving me all this information, but hey, that's my car. Do I trust Copilot? Question the information when appropriate. Absolutely. If you're looking for a fun poem or something like that, obviously it's just going to be making something up. But anytime you're looking for actual valuable, hey, I'm changing my tire. I want to make sure that this is actually real. Check and see where it got the information. So throughout, it's going to go and give kind of, here, cited sources, drive carefully at the beginning or at the end there. But where'd you get this? Here, it shows me from Care Kiosk, or I'm sorry, Car Kiosk, and crvmanuals.com, so straight from Honda. So you can check where this information came from before you do anything. All right. Another way that I use this day to day is to break down, some here in IT, there's technical terms all the time being thrown around. And sometimes it is, hard to figure out exactly, how do I translate this? And so when I'm looking at that and, I get something back from an engineer and I'm looking at thinking, how do I understand this first so that I can explain it to someone else? So here's an example. Can you non-technical terms? It'll go ahead and break down exactly what SIEM is. So it's going to say, hey, it's security information and event management, and here is exactly what it does. And if I'm looking at that, I'm going, great, that gives me all the detailed knowledge here, but how do I make it less when I'm sending this out to a client? I'm going to go ahead and ask it to condense. And there we go. So now it's gotten this down to 2 sentences. Now, remember we just talked about check your sources. How do I know that Copilot just gave me this information? So I see here, I don't see any links, and sometimes it doesn't give links, but I don't see any links here to verify it. So I can say, let's see, how did you get this answer? So it is going to reply back that it has an understanding and training to have a wide range of information about technology, yada, yada, but can you cite sources? And it's just like you're having a chat with anyone, and you can push and say, but I would like to see your sources because I want to make sure that I can say, give additional information to my client. If I send them that, those 2 sentences, I want to be able to say, here's a place you can go to read more about it. And I can look up some references. Yes, please provide some references. Thank you. And here it's going to go ahead and show some separate references so we can go to all of these different spaces to verify and provide that additional information. All right. So what are some other fun ways? Uh, Moving into some more fun things. But one thing that is useful for work to, as well is to compare two things. So for this purpose, I'm going to keep it light. For those of you who saw me last time for Microsoft Edge, I love dinosaurs, so this will come as a surprise to no one. So let's see, what dinosaur, or let's rephrase that. Is there any correlation between dinosaurs and zodiac signs? All right, so Copilot is going to scour the web here to see if there's anything. Unfortunately, there's no scientific evidence, but it's a playful way to combine interests. And it looks like here that an Aries is often compared to a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and a Taurus might be likened to a Triceratops. Now, where to get this information? Because as they mentioned, there's no scientific evidence, which is nice because it does tell you, hey, these aren't facts. Um, so it'll give you a couple of different links here if you want to, launch off and see, hey, what dinosaur am I? So when you click this link, it is going to go ahead and open up a new window. So I still have the other one open. Now there's a ton of pop-ups and all this. So if you were in my last one, don't forget to use your immersive reader up here and it'll bring it down. And it looks like, yes, indeed, Aries is a T-Rex and Taurus Triceratops. Now, I don't necessarily have to be done with Copilot here because I can say, what is my zodiac dinosaur? And I can ask Copilot, hey, do you know what my zodiac dinosaur is? I am a Leo, so I'm going to let Copilot know. And hey, it looks like some sites say that I am a Tyrannosaurus Rex as well. No surprise, Aries is another fire sign, so I'm not surprised that we share that as a dinosaur. All right, so looking at this can just be one fun way that you can, kind of play with Copilot. Another, you can dive in here and look at, say, I want to make up I'm going to be babysitting and I want to make up a children's story and I need to get started because I'm having one of those brain moments where things just aren't connecting, aren't firing. So tell me a short story about a dinosaur and an owl who are friends with a little girl. The audience, that's all, is three, 5 years old. So it's going to go ahead and write me a short story here about a magical time where Lily, Dino, and Ollie went on a treasure hunt. And so it can be used in very fun ways. You want to make sure to obviously always keep some, private information private. You don't want to put any names in there, but have fun with it. You can, tell me to write me a poem or, you know, really anything you want. Um, if you're stuck on how to get started on something, you know, that's how we can do a new chat. How to, let's see, wood carve. And it'll give me instructions here on how to get started with wood carving. Any hobbies you're interested in, even if maybe you're like, hey, I really like puzzles and I really like sewing, but I'm kind of in a rut. What are some things that I might like? Copilot can probably give you some examples. Now, you could always, look that up and you could always Google things. But what Copilot does is kind of pull from a variety of different sources and give you, pardon me, um, pull from a variety of different sources so that you don't have to read through a million web pages and give you some ideas. So those are just some fun things, but there are also new ways that you can use it. And going back to work, I know it's boring, but we have to. Going back to work, some other really great ways you can do it. What are some great time management tricks? You can ask a Copilot things like this, and it'll pull, like I mentioned, from different sources. And here it looks like it pulled from Asana, and it's going to show you these different tricks that are recommended. So time boxing and these different techniques, and you can look into them, read about them, see if they apply to you. And I can say, hey, what's the Eisenhower matrix? I want to know more about that. All right, here we go. A lot of times, or Copilot will very often and most often give you some kind of follow-up questions that you may have from there, so that are common questions. So yes, I'd like to create my own matrix. It can help you do that. Give me an example. Great. Those sort of things. So if you're ever feeling like, hey, I need to get started on, this, or I'm feeling in a rut, Copilot is your best friend. I turn to it multiple times a day. I hope that this kind of helped. Always remember, stay safe. If things feel fishy, they probably are. Don't click it. Don't put in your password. And keep your personal information personal. But I hope that you use this tool. Copilot for Microsoft 365 is an even more kind of integrated tool that uses a lot of the same, kind of core functions, and, learning how to prompt, making sure you have those details in there and give that information and how you can adjust things. And we will definitely have a Copilot for Microsoft 365 Tech Tips probably coming out sometime next year. But until then, I do encourage you to use this, because honing your skills through the free version of Copilot is really the best way to get the most out of a Copilot for Microsoft 365 subscription. So I hope that you learned a thing or two today, and go write your own short story today, and you can pick your own two animals. Definitely find out, and hope you can let us know in the survey what dinosaur your zodiac sign is, because I'm very interested to know. Otherwise, Mike, I don't know if you have any questions out there.
Thank you very much, Jess. And by the way, I'm an Ankylosaurus.
Love it. Love it.
So that tracks. Thank you very much. I didn't see any questions that we could not answer in the chat, so it looks like we're all set there. So thank you so much, Jess. We really appreciate that. And thank you all for attending our Tech Tips on Copilot today. Hope you found it insightful, and hope you're excited to put your new skills into action. And as always, on behalf of Fit Technologies, thank you all for joining us today. Take care.